to Netanyahu. And I want to bring in two more guests for you. Danny Ayalon, the former Deputy Foreign Minister, is still with us in the studio. I want to go to Bahrain to speak to Abdullah Al-Junaid, Bahraini columnist and a regular here on I24 News. Great to see you, as always, Abdullah.
Likewise, Laura. Danny.
Hi, Abdullah.
Now, Benjamin Netanyahu was, of course, along with US President Donald Trump, the one who brokered the Abraham Accords, which is the reason we are speaking right now. Should he be given some credit for that? And how is his potential return to power being viewed in the Arab world?
I was speaking to you before that.
Go ahead, Abdullah. Yes, you were. Sorry, I got yes. In this format, in this capacity.
All right. Now, for us, definitely, would the return of Netanyahu represent any threat or destabilizing factor to the current relation? Even he played a very key, role and was brave enough to bring about the Abrahamic Accord. But, the reason behind that is not the subject of discussion at the present time. But would he represent the sort of stability, a political stability within Israel that may represent a continuity for, further developing the basis of the Abrahamic Accords or otherwise? This is what worries us.
It worries you that Netanyahu might come back or that he won't come back?
On a personal note, I hope he doesn't make it back. But if he does, I hope he plays politics from not the strong arm tactics that he showed earlier when he was head of the coalition. But I hope he played a bit differently. At the end, it is your decision, Israelis, if you're going to bring him back or otherwise.
Okay, Abdullah, stay with us for a moment. I want to go to Abu Dhabi now. Loai Al-Sharif, another regular commentator, peace activist, expert in Arab-Israeli relations. Great to have you with us, as always, Loai. And setting aside the individual candidates for the moment, you are someone who's really been on the front line of trying to foster understanding between Gulf Arab countries and Israel. And what does this political instability, this constant going back to elections, do to relations between the countries, do you think?
Hello, Laura and everyone. Sorry for the flu. I don't think it does much because it's an internal Israeli matter, the fifth election in 2 years. What really matters most is the next candidate to carry on this great achievement that is called the Abraham Accords to the next level. That would actually make things even better. And speaking of stability, I'd like to comment on my dear friend, Mr. Abdullah, when he said about Netanyahu coming back, that might have some sort of stakes or dangers. I do understand where he comes from, but I also would love to give the credit to Bibi Netanyahu for bringing the Abraham Accords to life. It was the courageous leaders, Trump, Netanyahu, Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, and King Hamad, who brought the Abraham Accords to life. And Netanyahu speaks about bringing Muslim Israelis to Saudi Arabia through a normalization deal or a peace agreement or some sort of arrangements. These are ambitious. I'm not weighing everything to Bibi. Well, I'm not an Israeli. I respect the Israeli internal matter, and I'm just saying that Bibi deserves the credit on this matter, and I hope whoever the Israelis vote for could end this cycle, fifth election in 2 years, and could bring the Middle East to a more prosper and stable one, because we really want to have more countries joining the Accords, Laura.
Okay, Loai, thank you. Danny Ayalon, your thoughts on that? It was the biggest earthquake in regional geopolitics since, the 1990s, wasn't it?
Probably since the Oslo Accords in 1993, absolutely. But I would say that it's almost insignificant in terms of the relations with the Arab world, who would be the next Israeli prime minister, because the architecture of the region will not change by whomever sits in the prime minister's office here in Israel. The threats from Iran will continue to be a grave and looming a large cast over the region. The threats from ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the like. And there is a great real common interest between Israel and the Gulf countries, as well as looking into the far future in terms of food security and high technology in water availability and all that. There might be some discomfort, although I would say if let's say if Bibi becomes the prime minister and he has someone like Ben Gvir, which is considered, it's not exactly my opinion, but he is considered as a racist and too tough vis-a-vis Arabs, not just Palestinian Arabs, but also Israeli Arabs. So this may have some kind of concern to the leaders, to the Arab leaders, whether it's Egypt or Jordan and others. But there is also an answer to that and a solution to that, and this is why we have diplomacy. And since Ben Gvir is not going to be the foreign minister, I don't think that any of them, of the Arab leaders, will have to meet with him. And Bibi Netanyahu understands it. He is the first one to understand it, so he would somehow limit the influence of this guy if he is part of the government. But at the end of the day, we have to remember the interest will continue, and Abraham Accord, as far as Israel is concerned, is a consensus among all parties in Israel. So I don't see much change and risk to that.
Okay, very briefly, Abdallah, because we do have to take a break in a moment. But I spoke to your Minister for Trade, the Bahraini Minister for Trade, His Excellency Mr. Al-Zayani this week, and he said this is really a long-term project for us. Do you agree with that? It doesn't matter who's in charge. Israel and Bahrain and the other Gulf countries have already firm relations between them.
I agree with you 1,000,000%, Laura. It is people to people, as I said, from the get-go after the signing of the Abrahamic Accords. I don't see any threats, but definitely the return of somebody like Benjamin Netanyahu and Ben Gvir having, the Minister of Interior is not going to help. It's going to be bruising the relations, the official relations, all the way. And we're going to be spending so much time nursing those bruises instead of building on what was achieved.
All right. Could upset a young friendship, perhaps. We're going to talk a bit more about Itamar Ben Gvir after the break. Do stay with us, gentlemen. We are going to take a very short break.